A segue in app development is used to control how we shift from one view to another. So in the Settings app, as you click, you can see different views slide in from the side or push in. We can hit the back button to go back and scroll up and down. Using a tab view, we can group our views together. You may be familiar with this using the Clock app. Inside the Alarm tab, we can see that we can add a new alarm using the same segues in the Settings app. So let's have a go at making an app with segues. The first thing you need to do is open Xcode and choose Create a new Xcode project. From here, choose Single View App and give your project a name. Let's call this one Traffic Segue. We can leave pretty much all the settings the same. Have a look at mine if you need to adjust yours. Then hit Next. Now we need to choose a place to save our project. For this example, we'll put it in Documents and we'll create a new folder. We'll call this folder iCubed Coding and click Create. Then Create again. Now our project is ready to start editing. The first thing we do is choose Main Storyboard from the left-hand side. This will load up a view of what our app will look like. It's kind of like a design view. We're going to add a button. So from the left-hand side, right down the bottom, we type UI button and we can drag that on. You will see blue lines that will help line up the button in the center of your view. Now we're going to make sure our button doesn't move around our screen. Down the bottom of the screen, there's a button that allows us to add a horizontal and a vertical constraint. Just make sure you do that. This is basically going to make sure that while using our app, if we rotate our phone or use the app in a different device, the button stays perfectly aligned in the middle of our screen. Next, we're going to add another view. So you need to search for the word view and drag View Controller next to our other view. It should just pop into place. You can pinch and zoom and navigate the screen a bit to make it fit in a lot better. Now we're going to make our views stand out from each other. Make sure you click on the left-hand view and we're going to change its background color. As you can see on the right there, there's a drop down that I can choose and I'm going to pick a nice reddy sort of salmon. That looks good. Now we're going to do the same thing on the right-hand view. But this time our yellow that I want to use is not available. So down the bottom I can choose Other. And then I get a color picker like I would in any other app. So from here, I'm going to find a nice yellow. And as you can see, I can use a pencil or I can go here and just move around. I just want a lighter one so it's a bit less bold. And that's changing around nicely. Yep, I think that looks good. Now we're going to set up our segue, which is actually the control part that allows Xcode to know that we want to push that button and go somewhere. So what we need to do is hold down the control key, click and drag from our button, and then sort of move over to that view. And from that list, we need to choose Show. You would notice a line with like a circle and a square in it will appear between the two views. Now we're going to test our app. Up the top of the screen, we can choose a drop down and I'm going to pick an iPhone 8 to test this on. And then I can hit the play button. The first thing that will happen is it will test to make sure it's okay, which is the build successfully. Our iPhone simulator should load in the background and we can see our app. This looks like what we just made. Let's try the button. Yep, that goes to a yellow screen. We can stop our code from running by going up to the stop button in Xcode. Now we're going to add another view and we're going to make it green. So let's just have a look at that process again. So the first thing we needed to do was add a view to our storyboard. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit. Give myself some room and drag that view on. Perfect. Now let's pick a color. So I'm just going to go to click on my view and then I'm going to go to Other because the green I like isn't there. It should be quicker this time. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe a little bright. Yep, perfect. Now we're going to add another button, this time to the yellow view. So I'm just going to go down the bottom, search for a button, drag it up, align it with the blue lines. Good stuff. Add my constraints, so horizontal, vertical, click add to constraints. Now I'm going to add my segue, so I hold down the control key, click and drag. Let's do that. Choose show from the drop down list, and there's my segue popped in. Now let's test if that works. So I shouldn't need to change my iPhone this time, just hit play basically. Let's do that and click play. Okay, so here we go. Yep, and we click our button, and now we've got a button on our yellow, and we go to our green. You probably notice right now too that there's no way to actually go back or clear that screen. Let's hit stop. The first thing that we can actually do is add the ability that we can dismiss this screen. To do that, we actually need to write a little bit of code. Xcode has a built-in function that lets us do this, and it's called Unwinding a Segue. So what we have to do is click on our viewcontroller.swift file on the left-hand side. Here we can see a bit of code that explains what's happening in our view. So far, we've only been looking at the design view. This is the code view. So underneath the viewDidLoad function, we're going to drop down a couple of lines so we can type. Now, some of this is going to look familiar and some will look different, but the best part is that Xcode remembers some of the words we're after. So we need to type @IBAction space func space, and we're going to create our own function called unwindToRed. And this is basically our function that's going to run when we want to dismiss the green screen. Inside our function brackets, we're going to type unwind segue : UI storyboard segue. And you just notice how Xcode picked that up. I can put my open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and I've completed my function. As I said, some of this should look familiar to you and some will look a bit peculiar. Now, let's add back in our views, or our storyboard I should say, we're going to add a new button. I'm just aligning that. In the green view, push that into the blue, put my constraints in. Sorry, this button is going to be our dismiss button. So what we need to actually do is change the title of that button. So I'm just going to go up there. I'll not change the title, change the label to dismiss. Good. Let's zoom into that green view just so we can see better. What we're actually going to do is create a link between our button and the exit command on the view. That's up the top here. So it's similar to before. We hold control, we click and we drag. And when we let go, we actually see the function that we created and we just click on it. So it's created a link between the button and the function and the exit of the view. Now, let's test this out. Hit the play button and our project should load in the simulator. So let's click our button on the red screen and then on the yellow screen. And now we have this dismiss button. And when we click on it, we go back to the red screen. Hopefully that works perfectly for you. Hit the stop button and you're ready for the next part. See you soon.